Today I'd like to give you 10 different reasons why I personally think property investors are about to face the perfect storm. Hi, my name is Tony Law from Your First Four Houses, and my channel is all about helping you replace a job-based income with just a handful of investment properties. So you can give up the day job if you wish and go and do something more interesting with your life. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell notification icon so that you don't miss out on any of the free content that I give you each and every week. So for property investors, I genuinely think the perfect storm is coming, and there's 10 reasons that I believe this. So let me quickly rush you through these 10 different reasons. Well, the first one is the fact that furloughing has come to an end. Now, I know the government has introduced a new scheme which will have which will go some way to sort of supporting and helping those workers who are unable to return to the workplace, but it's not the same thing. And sadly, I think it's going to mean that more people are laid off. There's going to be bigger job cuts. What does that then mean? It means it's going to be fewer transactions of sales going through, and also a few properties that are going to be coming onto the market that wouldn't otherwise have done so. Section 24 really bites deeply for the first time this year. And so all of those landlords and property investors that have got properties perhaps in their own name, fairly highly geared, are going to look at their tax bill and say, what on earth is this? They're then going to consider selling up. My third reason is the fact that there's lots of increased legislation that's come on, in particular around HMOs. I'm sure you're probably already aware of that. But I also think there's going to be more legislation that's going to be sneaking in to do with service accommodation, holiday lets, this type of thing. And all of those are going to put increased pressure on the people that are running those types of businesses. Does that therefore mean that more of those types of properties are going to be coming onto the market? Going back to HMOs, there is no question that in some area there is a bit of an oversaturation of HMOs. Now in those areas you can potentially get great rent-to-rent type deals, or maybe those tireder properties that are in the right locations. Location is everything when it comes to HMOs. But there are going to be a lot of property landlords who are thinking to themselves, I've had enough of this. With all this other stuff that's going on, I'm going to put my property out there to sell. But maybe they're unable to sell. So maybe you can come up with a creative solution that works really well for them, but also makes it a fantastic deal for you. And also don't be afraid of maybe repurposing that HMO. Maybe look at changing it into studio apartments, for example, or just changing it in its entirety, maybe back to single lets. You've got to do the numbers on that. My next reason is the fact that there are these fantastic new permitted development rights that have come in recently. Now, Labour tried to overturn these in September, but I'm pleased to say they were unsuccessful in doing so. But that's going to mean that lots of, in particular, commercial properties are now ripe for conversion to residential. And this is a new thing that's just come out. So they haven't all been snapped up yet, unlike many offices to residential, which I think are, there are still those opportunities out there. But honestly, most of the really good ones have been snapped up a few years back. We've also got to consider things like the stamp duty holiday coming to an end in March. Now that's going to mean a massive issue in the run-up to March, because there are going to be so many people actually demanding the most amount of money that they can get before the 31st of March. There's also going to be a real problem with regards to nailing down solicitors and conveyancers in the run-up to March. But what's going to happen immediately as we get into April? Well, I think that sales are going to die. Unless, of course, the government changes what they're actually planning on doing there. But at the moment, as far as we're all concerned, it ends in March. We've also got to think about the reduced valuations that surveyors are putting on out there. Now, I did catch a bit of flack when I mentioned this in my last video, the fact that I believe that some valuers are going out and they're putting lower valuations on properties, and specifically they're doing that to kind of protect lenders to a certain extent. Now, I know that surveyors don't work that way, I totally get it, but I have had some examples that have been shared with me where that does indeed seem to be the case. Now, in those scenarios, property investors and developers are going to think again about what they're actually going to be asking for those properties. Or maybe they can't sell them at all, or refinance them at all. Is that going to be more opportunities for you as a new investor? I think it well could be. What about the fact that the bounce back loan payments kick in March? Now, bounce back loans, I think, were a fantastic idea. I think in some cases they have been misused, if I'm being really honest with you. However, the payments for them in many cases start to kick in March, and I think that's only going to add extra pressure, extra concern for people that have taken them out. Is that going to mean therefore that more properties come onto the market, or we as new investors are able to actually negotiate better deals? I think it may well be the case. Brexit, let's not forget that. But also, and probably this is a really significant point, whilst borrowing is now more difficult because the lenders are putting in far more stringent criteria, the fact is the cost of borrowing is at an incredible low. So you can now potentially secure borrowing at an incredibly low figure. Honestly, I think as we move into 2021, and I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but I think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think that if you're not going to be taking massive action as we move into 2021 and beyond, I honestly think you might look back at this time of the year and think, if you're not taking enough action, that you have massively missed out. I think this is the perfect storm. I think all property investors should be getting out there, looking at deals now, but if it's residential, maybe not just buying just at the moment, although with commercial, I think you should definitely be out there looking. But get those action plans in place. Get ready to take tons of action, because I honestly think we're looking at the perfect storm.